Well, hi, and thanks for stopping by the Pellets and Pistons Airgun channel. Today we've got the Gamo Varmint again. You may have seen my previous video where we covered pretty much everything on this gun. And one of the things you may have noticed if you watched that video was the annoying spring buzz that this gun had. Now, if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to show you a couple of clips from it where you can hear what the gun sounds like. And then when we're done with that, we're going to put it on the workbench and we're going to disassemble the gun. We're going to shim the top hat, and we're going to shim the spring guide, and we're also going to add a little spring tar to the spring just to see how much of that spring buzz we can get rid of. Once we're done, we'll bring it back out here and we'll take a couple of shots and we'll evaluate whether or not we were able to clear up all that noise. So stick around, this ought to be a good one. And thanks again for stopping by the Pellets and Pistons Airgun channel.
So getting right into the gun, the first step is to remove the stock. You'll need a T25 Torx bit for this operation. That bit is also necessary to remove the barrel pivot bolt. Once the bolt is removed, you can slide the barrel free from the forks in the receiver tube, disconnect the cocking lever, and carefully unhook the link for the anti-bear trap. Next, we drive out the cross pin that holds in the trigger group along with the spring tension from the mainspring. There'll be quite a bit of force here, so be sure to use your punch to stop the trigger group from flying across the workshop. Almost dropped my pin. Carefully press down with a fair degree of force as you pull the pin from the receiver tube. Now release the pressure slowly, and the trigger group should come out along with the mainspring and top hat. Remove the piston from the receiver tube, and you've disassembled your rifle. Let's clean everything up. I did clean the inside of the receiver tube as well as the inside of the piston off camera and set those aside to dry. We have a top hat and a spring guide, both of which are a rather loose fit within the mainspring. This looseness is oftentimes the cause of vibration. Today's project will be to make a shim for both the spring guide and the top hat, and we're going to use a regular aerosol can in order to perform this procedure. I found that a socket extension from a 3/8 drive socket set was the perfect size mandrel for this purpose. The idea here is to get a tight fit. It looks like we achieved a tight fit between the spring and the shim, but not so much the shim and the spring guide. Still, the spring guide is plastic and I don't suspect that it's the major cause of the noise. I think it's the metal to metal at the other end of the spring where the top hat sits. Next, we're going to cut some slits in the end of the metal shim so that we can fold them outward almost like the petals of a flower, which will help to keep it in place within the rifle. Once the cuts have been made, I found that a pair of needle nose pliers is the ideal tool to form the metal over the end of the spring. Next, we'll repeat the same procedure for the top hat assembly. Again, we use the 3/8 drive socket extension as a mandrel. Another tight fit. Now we'll take the top hat back out again so that we can flare the end of the shim just like we did on the other end. Now we'll reinstall the top hat. And now we're ready to move on to the next step. You'll need some gloves for this step. This is where we get to play with spring tar. And this is a ooey gooey mess that gets everywhere, so watch what you touch and wear those gloves. You want to apply a liberal amount to the entire spring. You don't need to overdo it with big blobs here and there. You just want to spread it evenly, almost to the point where it will stretch between the coils. Just a little more. It takes some doing to spread it because it wants to stick to itself. All right, we'll set that aside. Now it's time to lubricate the piston. Try to avoid getting the lube on the face of the piston seal, as this will only promote dieseling, which is undesirable. Don't forget to lubricate the rear bearing surface of the piston. That's another point of contact within the receiver tube. Set that aside. The wire had fallen out of the trigger group, so I'm just reconnecting it. It's pretty self-explanatory how it goes in. Next step is to reinstall the piston. Be careful going past sharp edges. You don't want to damage that seal. Take your time and use steady pressure. Make sure that the slot in the piston is aligned with the slot in the receiver tube. And then a wooden dowel will help to seat the piston all the way home. Next, the spring and top hat assembly are installed. Followed by the trigger group. Set that down on the bench. And get your pin started by hand while applying downward pressure to the tube. Once it's started, I'm using a rag to hold the tube. Just tap that pin in with your mallet, preferably a brass one that won't damage the seal. Next, we have to reattach the wire for the anti-bear trap mechanism. Get the cocking lever seated. into the piston, and then line up the hole in the barrel and the forks of the receiver tube. You'll notice that I pulled the cocking link downward. I found that was helpful to get the bolt started. Nice and tight here. You want that barrel to be firmly held between the forks of the receiver tube. All that's left now is to put it back in the stock. And that's it. We'll put a scope on this thing and we'll take it outside and give it a shot.
Okay, so we're back out here with the Gamo Varmint, and now it's time for the big test to see if we were able to get rid of some of that annoying spring buzz. In case you missed it, here's a shot of what the gun used to sound like. Now we're going to give it a shot and see how it sounds now. All right, shot number one. I didn't even hear a hint of buzz. I don't know if you did, but that gun didn't make any buzzing sound whatsoever. Let's try it again. Listen up. Shot number two. Jeez, what a difference, huh? Amazing. It went from buzzing like a bee to snapping. That's the way a quality spring piston air gun should sound. None of my air guns have any spring buzz because every single one of them has been on the bench to eliminate it. It absolutely drives me crazy. I know I had said that I could live with it, but I just couldn't live with it, and now I don't have to. So, as a way of celebrating, we're going to ring that bell. Oh yeah, one more time, folks. $110 rifle now sounds like a $300 rifle. Oh yeah, thank goodness. Well, I'm very pleased. I hope you guys learned something. I know I did. I can't thank you enough for stopping by the Pellets and Pistons Airgun channel. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Ring the bell if you want to be notified about my next video. And by all means, give me a thumbs up if you had a good time watching this one. Thanks again for stopping by the Pellets and Pistons Airgun channel, folks. Have yourselves a great day.